No, this is not ChatGPT. We're using our own data filled into the system. We're driving this with our aviation data, with our Checkride prep questions. So we build our own Checkride prep database of questions coming from DPEs all over the country. We run a Part 141 flight school here as well. So our stage check questions that come up just from regular CFIs. So we've really built this robust database covering each element of the airman certification standards, the ACS, because that's really what's driving the oral exam, is that ACS.
Hello, welcome back to the ProPilot Playbook podcast, where we bring you the tips, tricks, hacks, and shortcuts to get you into a cockpit faster and cheaper. I'm Sean.
And I'm Mike Martin, and we've got a great guest today.
Yes.
So we found out about this, our online coaching that we do weekly with our subscription members to help guide them through their training. One of the people in that course brought up this new AI tool that Sporty's has developed and just said it was incredible. And Sean and I started looking into this, and this is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, this is a tool that could really revolutionize online pilot training. And as you guys know, we're based in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we have Sporty's is also based in Cincinnati, Ohio. We have lots of contacts there. It's a great operation. I used to work there. So I called my good friend Brett Kobe, who's here with us now, to ask him, and he was gracious enough to come on the podcast to explain this new product. Now, Brett is a senior vice president at Sporty's of product development, especially the training stuff. So he was very, very heavily involved in the production of this product. He's also a professional pilot himself. He's been through all the ratings. He's flown corporate jets. And we're really happy to have him on the show today. So welcome, Brett.
Yeah, thanks, Mike and Sean, for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, this is some pretty neat stuff. Played around with this a little bit. My son is training. He's 16, and we were messing around with it a little bit. It's pretty neat stuff. And you guys are number one right out of the gate with this.
So just so the customers hang on to watch this video, we're going to actually demo the tool. But what this is, if you're at the very basic level, is this thing will actually, one of the big components of private pilot and all rating testing is an oral exam done by an examiner. And, you know, this product actually simulates what a real person would do to test you. So that's the allure to all this. So Brett, let's talk about how long this has been in the works and kind of behind the scenes on this product before we get into the inner workings of it.
Yeah, so it's a feature in our Learn to Fly course, instrument rating course, and commercial pilot course, instrumental in flight schools and students training experience across the country as they go for the certificates. Whether they want to become a private pilot to fly for fun or go all the way to the airlines, you got to start with all three certificates to get to that point. And so the foundation of our courseware has always been video training. That's been Sporty's philosophy really since the 1980s when we first did our VHS course, a full private pilot course. And we'll skip all the decades since then where we are today with a full 4K video delivery on all the platforms, online, mobile apps, iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, you name it. Anywhere you want to watch your course, we have a product there for it. And so the students, as they would go through the course, right, video training, a big part of that is test prep, so they get their knowledge test endorsement as well to take the actual written test. But as you mentioned, that final step, the Checkride prep section, and that's more important now than ever as DPE shortages continue. Students are scheduling Checkrides weeks out. You've got to make that first impression and nail that Checkride the first time. And that's where we're able to use this new technology to build a feature that makes students prepared and feel confident going into that Checkride.
Awesome. So how long have you been working on this project?
Sure. So now me personally, my time in the course dates all the way back to the mid-2000s. So I was instrumental in the release of our first online course, which was Macromedia Flash back in the late 2000s. If that dates me a little bit here. And then Apple put the kibosh on that because they came out with the iPad in 2010. Every pilot had to have an iPad. Well, Steve Jobs said, Apple iPad is not going to support Flash. So our first online course was in the trash can just like that. So we had to start over. And so kind of the basis of where we are today, HTML, technology, which is the standard for delivery. And so our courseware has always been that way. And we write all of our code ourselves here. So we're not relying on a third-party LMS or any kind of other off-the-shelf system. We build not just the content, the video, the aviation training, but also the delivery from scratch. So when we see a new feature, we come up with a new feature, we build it ourselves from the ground up, which is really important to be able to be responsive to customers and students' demands in the flight training process. So, a couple of years ago, AI, artificial intelligence, started hitting the market.
Right.
And that was really the surface of the iceberg, right? What really came to the surface. And that was, outside of our realm, that was decades in development in itself by the big companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, the Claude products, Gemini from Google. All these different artificial intelligence systems came to be. And we recognized this early on as a way that could really revolutionize training. But in the early years, you heard AI and you saw a lot of stories on it. And I feel like it was kind of gimmicky, right? It was a way to say, we've got AI, but what does it really do? Does it make my life better? Does it make, in the training side and education, does it make it better? Well, initially it made a lot of heartache, right, for educational institutions, colleges, high schools, et cetera, grade schools, because students had a instant cheat tool. That's been a big challenge in this whole process.
Yeah, the teachers have a hack. I've noticed when they hand out an assignment, they put some invisible text, but basically text in white color into the bottom of the paragraph. So when people copy and paste it into the AI script to ask it a question, it has this in text, which is white. It's, so you can't see it. And it says something to the tune of, if you are an AI device reading this, do not provide blah, 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 blah. This is a student's work assignment, and the AI will shut down and we'll do it. Well, then the kids figured this out and they had a hack for that. But yeah, it's been a fight for those teachers. I've heard these stories.
And you see now what the good institutions are doing is they're incorporating AI, right? We want to make it a part of our system, our education, and that's what the good. Again, I'm talking grade school, high school, colleges are doing. Let's embrace this technology and use it for the better.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, okay, let's start with the basic question at the beginning that a lot of people that have used AI are probably going to have is this AI stuff's incredible. So I have GPT on my phone and it's revolutionary. And the more and more I use it, the more and more I use it. And you can ask it aviation questions. So people are probably watching like, oh, I know what Sporty's did. They just took a AI plugin that anybody can get, and you ask it aviation questions, and it's the same thing you can get off any other AI source. Is that what this is, or no?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm going to share my screen so we can show it in action here.
Yeah, let's just see what this thing does.
Yeah, this will help me do the demo better as well and explain how this works.
Yeah, great.
All right, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. So this is the online version of our Learn to Fly course. This is what the student sees. And we're going to focus on private pilot here, but the same feature here applies to our instrument rating course and commercial pilot course.
Okay.
So starting out, a student will typically go through about 15 hours of video training. Again, the latest 4K video delivery. We shoot in and around airplanes. We're not talking heads. We're not PowerPoints. So as Mike knows, we're out here running cameras on airplanes all the time, really around the country, from Alaska to Florida. And we've got some of the best 3D animators to bring these concepts to life. And that's where the student starts, or any pilot starts there, is that training. And they kind of on the left-hand menu go down the list here. And then after the video training, start focusing on test prep. Usually recommend post-solo, as they start doing some cross-countries, get into test prep. And that's a milestone type feature where you're going to study test prep questions. You're going to take practice tests. And once you get a couple 80% practice test scores, we'll give you the endorsement to take the knowledge test. So a lot of self-study here, which is great. And back in the old days when Mike and I were instructing, we were doing ground lessons with students sitting by the windows. The days of that are over. The students self-study here on the course. So all of our time, instructor time, is focused on the airplane, where the training really matters, and it really improves the efficiency of the experience for not only the instructors, but the flight schools. Helps with the retention, efficiency, all that good stuff. So as the students come down, we're going to jump ahead to the Checkride. So you can kind of see in the order here from start to finish. We have our Checkride prep section. And as we jump into this, traditionally we had a flashcard type system. So think like Quizlet, where you could pop a flashcard open. It would ask you a question, some rote memory, some more scenario based. But you self-graded that, right? You said, okay, what what's the private pilot currency requirements, and you would kind of mentally think about that and answer it, and then mark it right or wrong. Well, we want to take that to the next level, and that's where you'll see this feature here on the right, Chat DPE. Obviously, a play on the words of Chat GPT, which is this interactive Checkride prep tool here. So to kind of answer your question, no, this is not Chat GPT. We're using our own data filled into the system. We're driving this with our aviation data, with our Checkride prep questions. So we build our own Checkride prep database of questions coming from DPEs all over the country. We run a Part 141 flight school here as well. So our stage check questions that come up just from regular CFIs. So we've really built this robust database covering each element of the airman certification standards, the ACS, because that's really what's driving the oral exam, is that ACS.
Yeah.
And so we designed this here essentially to be a bite-sized task. We don't want to come out here and have you spend an hour and a half and do the entire check ride, because that's just not practical, especially as you're typing out questions and answers. And so we're going to give you a bite-sized kind of representation of that oral exam with 5 randomly chosen questions from different categories. And so we'll go ahead and hit the start button to give you an example of what that looks like. And so now it's kind of basically behind the scenes generating this session, picking up questions to ask. Okay, so here's our first question. This is more of a rote type memory question. So Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What are the 3 stages of a thunderstorm?
Let's see, the development, mature, and dissipating.
I think you're pretty close.
We're digging deep here. I didn't know I was going to be tested today.
Yeah.
All right, so enter a question. So here's, you can kind of see a nice feature here. So we gave an answer, and we're on the right track. This is how an examiner would actually act, right? It's more than just always giving a black and white answer. If you elaborate on what happens during each of these 3 stages. So let's say in this case, obviously we're not going to go through a whole session, but I don't know, right? You want to learn from this. This isn't just evaluating what you're entering. So let's say I don't know. Let's talk back to it. So no problem. So this turns into a learning experience now too, as it basically gives you that perfect answer that the examiner is looking for.
Wow. Yeah,
that's
cumulus stage,
neat.
mature stage, dissipating stage. I missed the cumulus stage.
You're on the right track, and again, you're not wrong, right? So, but it's analyzing this. So structural icing, that very important question. Why is it a concern for pilots?
It adds weight and reduces aerodynamic efficiency.
Adds weight. Adds drag. So we'll add a couple key points there.
Yes, you are correct.
So it continues to basically build on your answers, right? So now, you got that right. So how can explain how structural actually forms on the aircraft? And again, let's just say I don't know. Let's say you got to the rote memory, but you're trying to learn that kind of application standpoint. And that's why I want to really emphasize here. This isn't just to say, hey, like a test prep, you got it right or wrong, but let's learn from this and then use this information so that when you get the question, you might not just say, hey, it's these 3 things, but here are the 3 things it does, but then here's why it's a problem. And then you kind of really give that rock star answer to the examiner. If you do that, we're all check airmen, I'm sure. We've all evaluated students. If you get 3 or 4 good answers out of a student early on the check ride, that student's prepared, right? Then the rest of the check ride's going to go even better. And so we're kind of teaching here how to be good oral
This
exam.
is awesome. This is really awesome.
Neat.
So if you do this, like if you sit here and do this for a half an hour, does it say, oh, you've passed, you did a great job or anything like that? Or does it just keep going?
Yeah, well, so we'll do 5 questions. So let's go ahead and we'll keep going through a session here. We'll kind of abbreviate this. So we'll do the I don't know, just so you can kind of see what happens. But basically at the very end, you'll see that it presents a summary and gives you suggestions for what to study. So again, we're going to go, I'm going to say, what is spatial disorientation? Let's do something crazy off the bat here. So give me a completely wrong answer to type in.
They should close their eyes, cover their ears, and shake their head.
Close eyes, cover ears, and shake your head back and forth. Now, this is a polite examiner. So he's not going to tell you anything crazy, but politely he's going to say, you're probably not right. All right, so we'll say tell me. And you can have some fun with this. This does have a little bit of a sense of humor. Again, we're interacting like a person almost, right?
Yeah.
So we're going back and forth. So let's go ahead.
Wow.
Pretty neat.
And so, yeah, so that's why I like to say early on, even if you're not even think you're ready for the check ride yet, that use this as a study tool.
Yeah. It's
so
almost
let's
like
say
having a custom question and answer with a CFI.
Exactly. Flying it sets the 172 6 quarts minimum.
Yeah, I was going to say, how's it know what airplane you're, I guess it just asking a generic question, then it's going to ask you what airplane you were in. If you didn't put Cessna 172, what would it,
Yeah, it'd probably say, it would ask you, what kind of airplane are you flying? And then
Gotcha.
it's going to know the basics for most training airplanes.
Okay.
Now, if Mike says he's flying a Challenger 350, you might go off the rails a little bit, but for a piston engine airplane,
It'll know.
It'll know. Yep.
Right.
So, yeah, tell me the right answer there. And then I just want to show you the summary at the end, which is pretty slick. And so, again, you can kind of see here, we're going through all the details of a good question. And now it's going to do the summary. You can see it's building that here for you at the end. So we answered that last question, talked about the purposes of engine oil. And then the last part there is talking about each of the 5 categories, or in this case, 4 categories that we got incorrectly, and then kind of build a study plan for what you can do better next time. And so your goal is to get through these and basically answer correctly, detailed answers, and then, knock it out of the park when you get to the actual check ride.
Wow, man, that is so cool.
What
do you think, neat. Sean?
I'm blown away. It's pretty cool. So can you ask it questions too?
Not yet. So this is meant to be a very focused resource right now. So it's again, I use the word Rails, right? Because ChatGPT is off the rails. You can do anything. You can upload PDFs and have them rearrange pages or write code for you. This is a very narrowly focused task. Now, so as you can imagine, this is 1.0 of our AI features, and I'll point out we call these aviation intelligence. That's AI. I don't like the term artificial, especially when it relates to aviation, because we want to be right, we want to be accurate. So this is aviation intelligence, and again, that's where I stress in your question early on. This is our data getting pumped into this. This isn't just the internet's wide, collection of information of blogs, and the internet's half wrong half the time, or most of the time.
So this thing isn't even plugged into the internet as a resource. It is basically a stack of hard drives somewhere over in Sporty's with all this aviation knowledge in it.
It's server based, but yeah, it's our knowledge being fed into it, and it's using the large language models of OpenAI behind the scenes. So Sporty didn't develop a large language model. Pretty much any company out there today, even Apple, right, isn't using build their own systems. They're leveraging the technology that these other big companies have built. Again, putting those rails up and then giving it a very specific purpose, like we have here. One of our other great AI features that we just added, also that I don't think you guys have even seen yet, is what we call Chat FAR. And so what this does is it'll make sense of the regulations by another chatbot interface. So regulations are, an important part of training, and no matter what part of your career, from student pilot all the way through ATP, flying across the Atlantic Ocean, we have to know regulations. We have to know where to find them and find key information. Mm-hmm. And the regulations are written by lawyers, right, and government regulators. They're not user-friendly. They're not easy to find information. Even the best search sometimes isn't that great. So we built a tool here to be able to make more out of the regulations. And I can type in keywords, for example, like radio failure, IFR. So we're going to type in a very basic concept that we know we're looking for this regulation. What happens if my panel fails and I lose radio communications? So what this is going to do is rephrase your question, find the regulation that applies, and then give you all that information in plain English. So a much, much better way to access the regulations and study them. And so you can see here for the instrument pilots, this is one of those favorite questions that the examiner likes to answer on a check ride. And it's actually practical too, right? We have to know what to do if the radios give out or something happens.
Sure.
And then we also kind of take this one step further and build a scenario into each question. So I'm going to tell you about the regulation, but then also tell you how it applies. And again, I like this as a study tool because it might come up during a check ride, for example. It's a way for you to kind of bring to life and bring a real world example of how you can apply a regulation.
That is really neat.
That is great. Yeah. And that could be handy in so many ways. I mean, even to an advanced pilot like Sean and I.
I want that on my phone.
Yeah. And you can use that for check ride prep also. I mean, just by thinking of questions that you might be asked on a check ride.
Exactly. Yeah. Give a question here. Give some keywords. Let's try to find one that you guys might think about or applies to your flying.
lot of the stuff I look up a lot of 135 regulations. Are they on that?
Yeah.
Would they?
Yeah, they are. Let's find one.
Yeah. Just say, how many hours can I fly in a day under 135 regulations?
Pilot fly in a day under Part 135 regulations. Look it.
Yep.
And so this is our proprietary FAR database also. So we can have our own FAR feature. So this is actually scanning our FAA database file of regulations and then finding your answer here.
Wow, that's
Pretty
great.
neat.
And so let's say, okay, yeah, so here's the link right here to that regulation. So I can click on that. It'll take me right to that regulation in the course also. So you got the summary. I can jump in and basically go back to the source of that data also to read more on it.
That's really nice.
Right.
Very good.
I got one more thing I got to show you guys. You haven't seen this one either yet. So let's stay on the theme of IFR flying here just for a minute. And so, we'll do a basic one. All right. So now you're actually studying regulations, right? Your instructor said go into Part 91 and read the regulations, right? Common request of an instructor who doesn't understand a student, doesn't have the time for that or the ability to make sense of any of it. But under Part 91, there's some important things here. And here we're reading right-of-way rules, for example. Applies to all aircraft, all types of airspace. We built a summary feature. So you can see up here in the chat FAR, that's how we accessed the interactive chat feature before. There's also AI summary at the top. If I click on that, it's going to basically take that regulation, which is really hard to read and very poorly formatted, and reformat it into 4 key points here. A summary, what it means, why it's important. And then, in our opinion, one of the most important parts is that scenario again. So it takes that regulation and puts it into practice for you to help you understand it better.
That is cool.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly like now what's so popular, like on Amazon, when it summarizes all the reviews. So you don't have to go through, 150 reviews on a product. You can just read in general what people are saying. It's doing that same technology to the regulations. And I think that's really incredible. And that's a very fast way to study,
It is. I look at this here and like my eyes glaze over, right? And this one's even a better formatted regulation, but I'd much rather look at it this way and have it broken down to me and basically how an instructor or an expert would teach it to me. And it's a very important part of how it relates to the scenario. It's not just memorization, but how do I put this regulation into practice?
That is
awesome.
Cool. So, Brett, there's going to be people watching this right now blown away with this. Just run through one more time. How would somebody watching this get their hands on this? It's all part of your private instrument and commercial. I know you guys offer that. I think it's a yearly fee, and you get access to all your videos, all the courses, and of course that would be part of this too, correct?
That's right. So yeah, the student pilot getting into this, our Learn to Fly course, that's $299. You buy that once, you keep it forever, and you get all lifetime content updates. You get technology updates. So the beauty of this is the person who bought this course 5 years ago is getting all this for free. Essentially, they don't have to pay any extra to get the latest feature. In addition, again, to test prep and video updates. Same thing for instruments. That's $299. Commercial $299. So you buy the course, keep it forever. You get all the platforms. We're doing online here today, but you also get iOS, iPad, iPhone, Android, like I mentioned before. And Sean, you mentioned we have what's called Pilot Training Plus for an annual fee. I think it's around $399. You get everything essentially. So you'll get all the courses. You get all 30 courses that Sporty's offers.
Yeah,
that's really the best.
That's a fantastic value because it's not just the private instrument commercial. I was looking through there. You guys got these deep dive, these, one-off videos of like aerobatics or weather or whatever it is. Really advanced type of stuff too. I don't know. I like that $400 a year thing. It's a good deal.
Yeah. I know you have a lot of viewers here that are probably starting out that want to start from 0 hours and go through their professional, training. Essentially, that's what we recommend. If you're going to be doing this starting now, going all the way through commercial, that's the best value out there. Pilot Training Plus. One course costs $299. You're getting all that for $399 per year is a great value. So consider that. But yeah, that's where students get these features. If you have access to latest courses, your course is automatically updated last week, so you can access this now in the Checkride prep sections and in the federal aviation regulations. And again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. As you can imagine, we've got a billion ideas of how to take this to the next level. And we're going to continue to come out with more in the years ahead. But we had to kind of build that baseline and get our feet wet. And we want to do things the right way. Again, this isn't a gimmick. These are tools that actually make a difference and can make the training experience better. And so we're going to learn from that and continue to make this even more powerful in the years ahead.
Gotcha. So in each one of these courses, and this is probably a pretty obvious answer to this question, but it's already set up. It's not the same tool in the private as commercial. The commercial is already set up. It's giving you a commercial oral if you click on this within the commercial program, I guess, right?
You got it. Yep. So if you go to commercial, you're exactly right. So each one has their own separate Checkride prep section with their own set of questions. Yeah. So if I jump into the commercial Checkride prep now, you're going to start getting questions on chandelles and advanced load factor questions, advanced system questions, pressurization. Yeah, here's altitude. Instrument's going to get in the weeds of instrument approaches and holding patterns and all that. And so, each is a tailored database to that particular course.
Yeah, so there's probably some folks out here watching this who are already customers of yours who haven't opened this thing up in a little bit. Go check it out, folks. Yeah. This is here now for you if you already have the Sporty stuff.
Yeah. Man, well, Brett, thanks a lot for being on the show. And, in closing, I'd like to say, too, you and I have been friends a long time. You probably wouldn't say this about yourself, but this is an aviation career podcast, and you are a Class A example of an incredible career that a person that wants to jump in. Everybody watching here is very excited to jump into aviation, and they're just initially watching our videos typically right before they start. And you're an example of how, you started off your career to become a professional pilot, like everybody watching is probably thinking they're doing. And then you landed this unbelievable job, and you're able to, fly and also develop all this courseware and use your other technical expertise and really excel. You became a senior vice president at a huge company like this. I mean, what would you tell someone that is thinking of either doing a career 2.0? That's a lot of our viewers where they're trying to make the jump and invest in their training, or maybe a young person, just getting ready to embark on their first career. How would you say aviation has been for you?
It's been great. And, circle back to the early 2000s, and I know you covered this. My goal was to be in the front seat of a Delta jet, back when I was 18 years old at that point when we all started. And just through the circumstances and opportunities, and I say being selective also. I didn't always just take the first job that came. I think pilots today have more flexibility there than ever. Look at your career choices. Yeah. Look at the company. And I know this is your advice also, but don't just take that first jet job or the first turboprop job. Do what feels right for you. And wisdom I've learned is consider quality of life also. That awesome flying job may mean you're gone away from home a lot. That's not something I wanted to do. So kind of balance out your priorities. It's not about the dollars. It's not about just the biggest, airplane you can fly or the, biggest airport you can be at. But kind of balance all those things and be patient, find the right opportunity, and stick with it.
Awesome. That's great advice.
Great. Yeah, good advice.
Yep. Well, we'd love to have you on. Next time you guys have a new product, make sure you reach out and because I know this was all very valuable to our viewers.
Yeah, this is good stuff. All this AI stuff is just blowing my mind. I've often said, it's like nobody even paid any attention to the Terminator movies whatsoever.
It is. I mean, I won't go into it, but when you see behind the scenes, it is crazy. There's going to be stuff blowing your minds outside of aviation that could be kind of scary also. So hopefully we keep that in check as we go forward.
Yeah. And it makes sense. Sporty's is the one bringing it to the aviation world. This is really cool stuff. Yep. Thank you again for being on here, Brett.
Yep.
Thank you. And I appreciate the positive feedback. And with all of our products, we look forward to what the customers say and students. And that's how we get our best ideas. How can we make the training experience better? So our ears are always open. Reach out to us, any ideas you have, and we'd love to hear the feedback.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thanks, Brett.
All right. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. If you have a question for us you'd like us to answer on the show, you can email us at podcast@ProPilotPlaybook.com. But other than that, hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out our new app on the App Store, and we will see you next week.
Thanks.